you can't compare yourself to everybody else. And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong. We want Sierra's prayer. We want Trina's prayer. We want Fantasia's prayer. But the thing is, what is your prayer? What is your desire?
Good evening. This is Dr. Taz of Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. Hi, OnJerya.
Hi. Happy
Well,
Tuesday.
happy Tuesday to you, girl.
We survived Mercury retrograde. We just in the, what they say, the
It's a
the
shadow thing.
pro the pro
Yeah.
shadow or whatever they want to call it. Whew.
For those 2 weeks, though.
Yes, girl. And then we don't have to worry about that until next year sometime.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm so glad that we survived it and we don't have to worry about Mercury retrograde for to next year. So I tell you, I was just saying that I was having some technical difficulties. I'll tell you after the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm my own camera person, and I can't. Maybe I can blame it on Mercury retrograde. Yeah, that's what I'm blaming it on. It was a Mercury retrograde moment. I don't know what happened. But it's a lot of things been going on. And I think my mind was just wrapped around all the different things that are happening. And I know you had talked about, well, there's several things you talked about. One of the things you had mentioned was, I don't know which one I want to go to first because I think I can connect the dots.
Okay.
You mentioned, well, the first thing that you mentioned was, what was the question? Why don't people believe they made? Is that what you said?
I don't know. I don't know. It might have been something along that line. Like, at what point is enough enough? When are you throwing the towel? When is it okay to say it's okay to leave?
Well, when you say throw in the towel, I immediately think about Rocky, and we're going to throw that towel in. But and I can hear Talia Shire saying, "You can't win, you can't win." Well, so the question is, when do I recognize that I'm not going to win?
Yes.
Well, I was doing some work over the last couple of days, and of course, on Talk with Taja, I had interviewed Dr. Velma Bagby, who is a Christian dating coach, certified Christian dating coach. And she talked about the fact that we have to examine ourselves, and particularly if we're dating for marriage. Now, if we're just dating like we did in high school, she said, just, she didn't say this, but I'm going to say, just date on, just do you. But if you're dating for marriage, it's like you have to be intentional about what your intended outcome is. So the question becomes, when you ask this big loaded question, when does the person throw in the towel? Well, you got to set this up a little bit better for us. Is it that someone's been in a relationship, the relationship hasn't been working? Is it that they are hoping that the person's going to change? Because the bottom line is that people don't change. We grow more into who we are unless we just decide that we want to change. And women are known for seeing the best in a man, and he gonna grow into that. Well, he might grow into it, but he may not grow into it with you. Which goes back to your question: when do you throw in the towel? Well, in a larger, in a small space, the question is, when your quality of life has been so compromised that you are unable to tolerate or accept that quality of life anymore. And I say it that way, and I had the little look in my eye because that's what the doctor said to me, prior to one of my surgeries. He said to me, "You will know when." He said, "When your quality of life has been so compromised." And he was right. When it got to a certain space, it was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And so then I made a decision, but it took some time for me to make that decision. And I think that when you talk about things of the heart or affairs of the heart, it's not an easy decision. And you always, to quote you, You don't want to be save a hoe, but look like you be trying to be save a hoe. And at some point, you got to realize, I moved to best friend's wedding. Who you chasing them? They're chasing whatever. It doesn't have to be another person. They're chasing whatever. But who is chasing you? So I think the idea of when you throw in the towel is such it's a huge statement. There's no right or wrong. It's what's going to fit that person. But I think that when and if a person decides to throw in the towel, they have to give themselves grace. Because I think once you throw in the towel and you are no longer cemented to that person, eventually you will begin to see things clearly. Now, who is it? I can see clearly now the rain is gone.
Right.
You begin to, it's going to be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It will become a bright, sunshiny day. And what I mean by that is it's like peeling that onion that Fritz Pearl talks about. You begin to see it for what it was and not for what you thought it was. You see the reality of it. But that's when you have to give yourself grace, because we all work through whatever situations we encounter at our own pace. It's like dealing with grief. And when you're leaving a relationship, there is a grieving process. And I think that sometimes people, they want to jump back into a new relationship, or they try to hang on to the old relationship versus grieving, going through that grieving process so that you then become ready for the next relationship. But it's all, I've always said that it's easier said than done, but the familiar, that routine
Right.
is what we sometimes cling to. So I don't know if that gives a little insight as to why it's so challenging for people to leave or to stop anything that they're doing.
I mean, it's probably all of the above. I mean, I know me personally, I just didn't want to start over. It's better to be with the devil that you know versus the one that you don't know.
Starting all over
Yeah,
again, it's
yeah,
gonna be rough.
because the whole starting over,
But you're
getting
gonna
to
make it
know,
better. But
yeah,
you're gonna make it.
getting to know
Better.
someone, getting to know their ways, getting to know, their icks and all. Like, that's work. Okay, that's work, and sometimes you just don't really be wanting to do any more work than you have to, because again, I already know how this is going to go, and it goes back to that Lord, now see, now I'm thinking about it, I ain't gonna be able to say a word, but same old, that routine. Okay. It's easy to stay with it because again, I already know, okay, well, at 5 o'clock you get off of work, you're gonna be home by 6 o'clock, because on your way home, you're gonna stop and you're gonna do this and you're gonna pick up this. And when you come home, you're gonna have that. Like it's comfortable, right? Um, but at some point, if you're not growing, right? If you're just remaining stagnant, if you're just settling, because it goes back to that intention. Like, why are we together? Are we dating for marriage? Are we dating to have a pizza pie thing? That's not what I was going to say. Like, why are we here? That's really what it boils down to, is the why. Why are we here? Because basically, if you're not in alignment and you're not dating for the same reasons, then you're just wasting each other's time. There's a thing that's going around on social media about, if a man knows what he wants within like the first 3 to 6 months of his interaction with a woman. And basically, if the conversation of marriage or any of that hasn't occurred within like the first few months, that basically is the likelihood is that it's not going to happen. So if you are with someone who, let's just say, you're wanting to be married, they're not wanting to be married, but in your mind, you're like, oh, I can change them, right? I can change them because that's what I do. I have my Harry Potter wand and I'm just going to wave it. I'm going to change this person because I can change their mind. And now a year goes by, 2 years go by, 5 years goes by, 10 years go by. They've never mentioned marriage. Can you really be upset that you chose to waste your time?
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, I can. Because in my mind, I did not see it that way. That's the reason I said, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I think I put a piece of that in Strong. I can't remember. I put it somewhere. I don't know which book. Might have been the bounce back. The bounce back would be a good place to put it because you got to bounce back. Um, but yeah, because for me, I'm living, and now I am in the bounce back. I'm living in that distorted reality, the
Yeah.
supreme. From the, I've tried to quote the song, but I'm in a distorted reality, but it's a reality that I created. And, sometimes I'm in a distorted reality. That's why I wrote about it. I was kind of distorted a little bit yesterday, but it was just me not thinking, not thinking clearly. I was thinking, but I was thinking abstractly versus thinking concretely. And I don't know if that's what happens when we begin to, well, it is. Let me think about this as I'm saying this. Opinions. I haven't fleshed this out, guys, so just work with me on this. I believe that we brainwash ourselves. I've always believed that.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm a study of people. I'm a study of many things. And I've been studying this basically all my life, not just as relates to relationships, but just how we maneuver and interface with people. And I just had a thought. And but we lie. And so once you get fixated on something, it's
Right.
hard to shift it. But sometimes the fixation is abstract. It's not concrete, meaning there is no evidence of that. But I would
Right.
rather live in an abstract world that I have created because it's comforting versus living in a concrete world where I see the true facts, which means either I have to consciously accept them or I consciously do not accept them. And then I make myself believe that it is not true. So I rather live in that abstract world, which is a part of that brainwashing that we do. All of us do it. We just do it to different degrees, depending upon what it is, but we do it. And it can be a positive thing if you do it for the right thing. For instance, work with me, picture it, Sicily. But, say I'm just holding on. Oh, this is benign. I I I I need no, I don't need. Yeah, I
I
need a
mean,
car because I was gonna go work, but that might get people a little whatever. But well, no, I'm gonna go work because that's more concrete. I have worked with people over the last couple of decades, and sometimes they're barely holding on. When I get to the job, they're barely holding on. And I was younger. I couldn't understand what the issue was. Now I've aged some now, so I kind of understand better. But they're barely holding on. So
right.
sometimes they have to do a little dance with themselves in order for them to see their work in a different light, in order to stay connected, in order to stay effective. Well, in that instance, as long as they don't go overboard, that's a good strategy because now they have taken something that was concrete, but it won't work in form. They've made it more abstract and they're viewing it from a different perspective in order to manage what they have to do. Well, it's okay as long as you keep it in perspective. But when we do it in our personal lives, it's a little different because when
Right.
we that was for money. Let's be real. That was for money because that's my job. But when it's my personal life and I go from concrete to the abstract world, that I see it this way and it ain't really that way, but that's the way I want to live in it because I want to live like that. When I do it that way, then somebody's bound to be hurt. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the person who's living in what you would call that Lululand.
Oh yeah, the land of Delulu.
Yeah, the land of the Lulu. That's Kate said, yes, we do. And we know we're doing it, but then sometimes we forget that we're doing it because we do it so much and we do it so smoothly.
Right.
It's just a part of who we are, and we don't realize that we've done it. We do it in romantic relationships.
Yeah.
We do it. We do it in BFF relationships. We do it organizations. We do it faith. We do it with everything. But at some point, when is enough enough? So when we go back talking about what you're saying with these relationships, romantic relationships, how am I going to let it go? Because it reflects on me.
Right.
And what does that say about me? Am I going to admit that I went off in Lululand instead of staying in the concrete world, the concrete jungle, as Jay-Z and Alicia Keys, New York State of Mind now, guys, and the concrete jungle. So since I didn't stay in the concrete jungle and I went off somewhere, Harry Potter, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to admit that because what does it say about me? Hi,
That
Deja.
you're human.
Thank you for joining us. Hmm?
It says that you're human.
I don't want, but it don't seem that everybody else is human. People, when I look on this fake book, as our friend would call it, the fake book. When I look on the fake book, when I listen to the people on my job talk, and I look at the people in my community, and I look at the people in my church or my synagogue or wherever I go, if I don't go anywhere, if I look at the people when I go to Walmart, everybody seems to be so happy. I want to be like that.
Yeah, and everybody want to be like Mike too. And unfortunately, you can't be like Mike. You can't be like Kobe. You can't be like Katie. You can't be like LeBron. You got to be like you. And it is easy to get caught up in fantasy because that's what it is. Not saying that people don't have healthy relationships because they do. They exist, right? They're hard because it takes work, right? Because you're taking two people coming together based on their experiences, their past. Are they healing? Are they working through it? Are they still bringing up things from their past? And you're just like, let me put that in the back mental note that that's something that you still haven't moved past. Yeah, we're human. Like you can't compare yourself to everybody else. And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong. We want Sierra's prayer. We want Trina's prayer. We want Fantasia's prayer. But the thing is, what is your prayer? What is your desire? What is it that you want in a mate? What do you want in a friend? Like, it don't even have to be romantic. Like, what do you want in a friendship with anyone? What do you want in a job? I mean, just like it's a deeper situation
I
when
want
we
you to
talk
stop
about
asking all these hard questions. You can what I want with this, what I want with that. I don't know. Why you keep asking all these hard
because
questions?
honey, you need to figure out what it is that you
I
want
want
because again,
what I thought I knew, and every time I think I know what I want, it don't work
because
out.
it's not what you need. It's what you want.
Wow.
And there's a difference because we want to be a millionaire, right?
Well,
Everybody want to be
well,
a millionaire.
I don't have to be a millionaire, but
Everybody, everybody want to make it rain. Whatever the amount of money it is, make it rain
okay.
me and you.
Okay.
Okay.
I have to be.
Everybody want to make it rain. Okay. But is that realistic?
I can't make it rain.
I mean, you can make it rain, but I can't say, you can make it um I'm gonna say that man name.
Uh,
Woo! We're
uh,
not gonna start the controversy about that one.
okay.
you know, that man is going to go in. You know,
I
you
knew,
can't,
I knew who you meant. I knew who you meant. See, I've
you
been
know, we can't,
connected with you. I knew exactly who you meant.
we can't make it rain like them. You know what I'm saying? Um, but we can low key make it rain, okay? Like I can make it rain with my $100. I sure can. With my maybe $1,000, I can make it rain with that. But at the end of the day, you have to determine what it is that you want and what you desire. And yes, it is nice to look at other people and fantasize about, oh, that's nice to have someone who values me and appreciates you. But baby, if you don't value yourself, you don't respect yourself. How are you expecting somebody else to do that? It goes back to what is it? You show someone how to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have no respect for yourself, then how are you expecting for other people to have respect for you? And again, that's anywhere. That's your job, that's friendship, family, foe, whatever. Like you teach people how to treat you. So before we can start fantasizing about, oh, it must be nice to have Michelle and Obama type relationship, you need to determine, are you Michelle and Obama material?
Well, first
Are you Michelle?
of all, now,
Are you Michelle material?
now
Are
first,
you acting like
well,
Michelle?
I probably am behind closed doors. But now, first of all, understand this. I love Barack and Michelle.
Absolutely.
But Barack and Michelle are human beings just like the rest of us. They
Absolutely.
have their little friction points just like we do in our relationships. We just are not privy to it. And again, when you talk about the fantasy, yes, what we see is real. Don't get me wrong, it's real, but it's only a portion of what's real because we only see a portion of their life. Bobby Womack says, no matter how high I get, when he comes home, he says in the song, you get the best part of me, you get the worst part of me, because whomever he's coming home to, they see the good side of him, but they get the worst side of him because they see the man behind the celebrity, the man behind the performer. So again, whether it's Barack and Michelle or Sierra, whomever, Fantasia, whomever, we only see one component. And I think that when we talk about the original question, when do we make the decision to leave? Because we only see one component, it's very hard for us to then turn the page or just flip it and see the other side of it. Because we're only seeing, well, for some of us, we only see one fourth in this 360-degree angle. We only see a 90-degree. We don't see the other, you know what I'm saying? We don't ever see that. But if you think about it now, most people don't show you the other two-thirds of who they are. But we
No.
do see it, but we have to stop, understand what we're seeing, understand what people are saying to us. But sometimes I think we get lazy. I think sometimes we just so infatuated with our own mind about what we think something is that we then don't see it for what it truly is. And that goes back to your question again. When is enough enough? When is the person going to throw in the towel? And understand, though, that if you throw in the towel, that's not that you've been defeated. You actually are empowering yourself because you're saying that this is not working for me.
Right.
I don't want to continue down this path. But yeah.
I mean, I agree. But again, I guess it's a broad statement, but it's based on the individual, right? Because only you can prevent forest fire. No, I'm just kidding. Only you know your tolerance level. You is the only one that know when you have had enough. Whether it's that, we've talked about marriage, but there's been no growth, right? Because there's been cheating going on. There's been, other kids, like outside kids that have happened as a result of the cheating. Like, again, only you know when it's time to walk away. Is it hard? Absolutely. Can you bounce back, as you
Yeah.
say? Of course. Is it difficult when you have to actually work on yourself? Yes. And then you're continuously having to work on yourself? Yes. Because you're realizing that things that you didn't realize triggered you is now triggering you because you have your guard up to be like, okay, this is what I went through. These are non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to accept this. And here's my reasons why I'm not going to accept it. Yeah, I mean, but it requires work. It requires time. Because you're grieving. It's a loss, right? Like, so no, it's not a loss as of like someone has passed away, but it's you're grieving the loss of a relationship, especially if you was with someone who you deeply truly cared about and you just saw the best in themselves and you wanted the best for them. You saw that potential. And sometimes we got to stop falling in love with that potential, honey, because that potential had you messed up. You'll be here
That's
30
that's
years later being like, I thought he was going to be somebody. I thought he was going to get it together. Oh, he will get it together for the right one. He's just not going to get it together for you.
no.
And you have to come to the realization that it's okay. You don't have to get it together for me, but baby, I'm going to get it together for myself. Because again, I have to put me first. I have to make me a priority because what happens is I think we lose a piece of ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Because again, you're holding on to like that hope of things are going to get better. And then you don't realize that time passes by so quickly. And it's been 6 months, 2 years, 5 years,
Oh, yeah.
10 years.
What's my song? 10 long? No, not that one. What's my song? I'm about to go 10 long years. That's if you
Are you
don't know
about
me by
10
now.
years?
But
Promises all heard.
yeah. The promise is all I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I just can't keep hearing that. But
No,
Andrea, but then I'm hearing Patty in my head also saying, if you don't know me by now, it's been 10 long years. And if you don't know me by now, you're never gonna know me. And your question is so important. It's not just, because we've been talking about it with relationships, but with everything. When are you going to make a decision after being in something for 5 years or however many years as to whether or not it's really benefiting you?
basically, it's when you're going to piss and get out that pot. That's really what it boils down to.
Okay.
Because, well, I'm sorry, we don't want to hear about it. I mean, it's like we can only, and I mean, I'm guilty of it too, not as much now as I used to be when I was in a toxic situation. Because I own that. That was some, woo, had it. But he got me through, Jesus. He got me through. That was some toxicity for you. And that's why I can say you can
Yeah.
survive. Like there is life outside of,
Life after the
being in
pain.
a toxic situation. Oh, very much life after pain, honey. Very much life after pain. And it looks beautiful. Okay. Is it work? Every day. Every day is work, right? Because if you don't have boundaries and don't realize that you didn't have boundaries, you just let things slide
Mhm.
and it catches up with you in the end. So, yeah. But it gets to a point where it's almost like we were talking about with that victim mentality, right? Like the woe is me. Like, why do things keep happening to me? But then you have to take a step back to say, well, what is your contribution to like what is happening to you? Like, what part are you playing into this? Because again, sometimes the proof is in the pudding, the writing's on the wall, the red flags are there, but we want to turn a blind eye for whatever the reasons are that you choose to turn that blind eye. And venting in frustration, whether it's about relationships, you know, work relationships or anything, it is really like there has to be some action behind it. Because I don't think it's too many people that like wakes up and say, I enjoy doing what I do. And they go through that day of doing what they do, and then something happens and it's like, well, I no longer like this. And they vent and it's like they move on, right? But sometimes you have to set, I guess they're like mini goals, I would say, right? Like, which goes back to that being intentional. when you let's take a job for example. Okay, that's a good example right there. Now here it is, you're starting this new position with this new company. You have to have a goal. Set that goal. Set the intention. Okay, I'm gonna be in this position that I'm starting out with for 2 years, and I don't see any growth within these first 2 years, then I'm out. Are you going to be considered a job hopper? Probably so. That's what I was told.
Yep. That's what you were told.
That's what I was told. Um, and and as a result, I wind up staying at that organization for a very long time because, I was told, do you realize that every year and a half or so, like you're moving to another company? Well, of course I did, because the thing was, I would go in with the intention, with the mindset that I'm taking this job, right, just to get my foot in the door so that I can climb up. And then you begin to realize that no, baby, we just can't take bare minimum. We have to go in for the jugular. I got to go in for what I want, because otherwise, if I don't go in for what I want, I'm just going to stay there and I'm wasting their time, because basically I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be productive, but not really productive, because I don't want to be in that position, because there's no growth, or the opportunity is there to grow, but because you're doing such a good job, girl, you doing a good job, they're not going to want you to go anywhere else. And
Yep.
then you get stuck,
Yep.
and who wants to be stuck? So that's the same way it is with relationships. You have to go in with the mindset of, you know I'm not saying that you have to lay out your laundry list of like, oh, I want to be married, within 2 years of us dating. I want to have kids. I want to have you don't have to go into all of that, right? Because again, if you start telling people what it is you're looking for, I hate that question. I hate when somebody's like, what are you looking for in a mate? I'm not going to tell you, because if I tell you what I'm looking for, then that's the person that you're going to become. So therefore, I don't know if you're actually being genuine, or if you're being this version that you think that I desire based off of the skills, the knowledge, the qualifications, the qualities that I want in, a significant other. So you have to have self goals. You don't have to verbalize the goals, but to yourself, if this person is not talking what you need to hear, you need to be ready to the left, as Beyonce said. Everything you own in the box to the left. Don't continue to waste your time, because it's not going to get better. I know we are. I could say this: we are not our parents. We are not our grandparents. There was a reason why Grandma put up with Pawpaw. Okay, we don't have to put up with Pawpaw. This is 2024, you're gonna be 2025. Okay, we can do things that ourselves, that we don't have to be dependent on somebody else, sometimes financially, in order for us to be able to sustain. So, and that's 9 times out of 10 the reason why Grandma turned that blind eye. You know, like, because she didn't work, she stayed home. She was what they say, a homemaker.
Yep.
So she stayed home. She cooked, cleaned, took care of the kids, and the husband was out working, because during those times, women really wasn't really working. They wasn't allowed to work. So again, you have to set those little goals within self. You don't have to verbalize it with the person that you're talking to, but just set them up milestones. And if you see, okay, we moving somewhere, great. If you see that by month 9, a year has gone by, and they're not speaking the language that you want to hear, it ain't nothing to cut that off, okay? Just cut them off. Just be like, I thank you for the opportunity, but I gotta go right now. What did Trey song? I don't want to leave, but I gotta go right now. And it's
Gotta go
okay.
back.
It's okay. We not gonna be mad. We just gonna cut our ties and go our separate way. It don't mean that I don't love you. It don't mean that I didn't care about you. It don't mean that I didn't enjoy the time that we had with each other, because of course I did. But it's just that, I got to do what works for me. And what works for me is not this, because this is not going this isn't going anywhere. We're not evolving. We're still stagnant, because I see those red flags, and I'm not gonna allow myself to become, what is it, complacent, comfortable,
Complacent.
content, all of that. I'm not even gonna allow myself that. So if you go in, set your intentions with these, like, boom, milestones. Okay, if progress is being made, great. If we going back down that ladder and we not climbing Jacob's ladder, then you're gonna have to cut it off, because you don't want to spend, as my sister would say, the best years of your life.
No, ma'am.
You don't want to spend your good years
No,
with
not the
someone
best years of my life.
that's
Mm-mm.
not deserving.
No, no. And I say it all the time. No, not the best
Absolutely.
years of my life. And, I just want to level set just a moment. Thank you, Latoya SJ, for joining us, and Deidre Lucas, and of course, Kate, for joining us, and Meta Benjamin Hoskins, and Little Mike for Machida, I think, for joining us. And, you talked about so many things, and I'm just going to try to connect some dots here. I had a thought that I never really had before, because I've heard you talk about when the person said to you, do you realize that every 2 years you are changing jobs? And what popped in my head this time was, and I don't know, and you know a little bit better than me, when individuals are in the military, and I'm calling it their duty station, they are gone for what, 2 or 3 years,
Right.
and then they may come back, stateside, and then they're gone again. Well, why is it okay for them to be in a position or to be stationed somewhere for 2 or 3 years, but it's not okay for us who are working a traditional job to go in, learn everything that we can, and if we can move up, great. If we can't, then move on, take those skills to another employer. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Because
It does.
it's okay for the military. Because we send them wherever for 2 to 3 years, then we move them somewhere else, and then we move them somewhere else. But it's not okay for us non-military people. Just want to throw that out there, because I never really thought about it until you were talking this time, because I've heard you say that, multiple times. But it's like, okay, so that right there tells you the contradictions that we were talking about.
Right.
Because we see it from that perspective as relates to job. We see it as it relates to our relationships, and da 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 da. And then you talked about, my Julia Robinson, the Runaway Bride, because if I'm telling the person what I'm looking for, then if they become that,
Right.
you got it from, I'm going to be the guy this time. He becomes what I said that I want, then I don't know whether he likes scrambled eggs or he likes poached egg. Because, I like scrambled more than I like poached, so he going to go with the scramble with cheese. Well, that's not helping us. And after a while, he get tired of eating them scrambled eggs because he don't really like scrambled eggs, or he don't want to eat eggs now. But that's telling me something. I got to figure out, what is it telling me, and that's the reason why we have to be very intentional and very mindful and observant. And then, you talked about what is your role? How you managing these things? Well, lots of times we're self-medicating, and
Yeah.
instead of self-medicating with liquor or drugs or food or whatever, I do it in this way. Well, regardless of what I'm using, I'm still not dealing with the issue. And
No.
only when you deal with the real issue, um, can you begin to make some changes. And and then this has everything to do with what you said, but I wrote this down. uh Basically, thanks for the memories.
Yeah.
I think Carol Burnett said it best. Thanks for the memories. Because memories are priceless. I'm not saying that to be flippant. Thanks for the memories, but I gotta keep moving.
Yeah.
And what Tony say, yes, mama's song. What did they say? Tony,
Leaving.
I'm leaving here, baby. You know I gotta get away from here. I gotta get away. Because if I don't get away, it's not gonna be pretty for you.
No.
So you gonna want me to go. I gotta get away. Because my belief is that everybody deserves to be happy. But that's going to look different for everyone. It's an individual thing. And what makes you happy makes you happy. What makes me happy, and so on and so on. So there's no reason for us to be at odds because I want the best for you. That's it. I want the best for you. Will you have down days? And of course, because that's all a part of going through that grieving process when a relationship is ending. But you have to look at, you have to weigh it. You have to weigh the pros and cons. And whatever you decide to accept, because you know how I feel about that,
Yeah.
don't talk to people about it. Because once you decide that you're going to accept it, we lie. Please be quiet. Nobody wants to hear it because when people have tried to help you to get out of your situation and you didn't move, why do you think they want to continue to hear you talk about it for 30 more years? I don't want to hear that. That's your situation that you decided that was okay with you. So now why you think you're going to make me feel bad and burn me down as you vent about your situation and you do this all the time? I don't want to hear that anymore. It's just the way it is. Love you, but I don't want to hear that anymore.
Because you
Now I want
to help me get through it.
no.
That's how I'm getting through
No,
it. Is that I'm venting.
no, 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 no,
And
no,
yeah,
no,
I'm
no. The way you
venting.
need to get through it is you need to make a decision. Because if you think you're gonna make other people's life miserable while you do whatever, no, I'm not gonna be miserable because you have decided that you're gonna stay somewhere that you don't really want to be. Why am I gonna have to take the brunt of that? That's not fair to me.
Cause maybe I don't know I'm miserable. That might be the problem. I don't even know I'm miserable because this done became this
RESPCT, find out what it
became my
means to you.
norm.
RESPCT, you better take care of TC. I think
This
that's
done
what we can do.
became my norm. Like
I know it's
so.
your norm,
So
but
I
I'm
think this is
not.
who I
Give it
am.
to me, Mr. OnJerya. I'm not.
This is who I am.
At some point, you have to let go of crazy. Okay, and sometimes you be crazy. I don't mean it as in mentally ill because people get so offended. It's a phrase, it's a statement. You have to let that go.
Yeah.
Because also, when I put on my other hat, remember, when I allow you to do that over and over again, I'm enabling you. And I
True.
don't enable people. You see, that's the other side of TAS. I don't enable anybody because I don't enable TAS. That's why I have to give me a tap every now and then because I can't do that. Because being enabled, it keeps you stuck in quicksand. And you know what quicksand, you're going down. What Mary J said, I'm going down.
I'm just
But, I'm going down, you see. So I'm in obviously this is a song night for me. Guys, I have a tendency to talk in lyrics and it seems to be. I don't think I've done it live ever, but yeah, I'm having my songs in my head now. Um, now I got Mama, boys. Is that boys? That's not Boys to Men. That's Mama from Soul Food. That's in my head now that popped in. That's the Philly guys.
boys to
Is that,
men.
that is Boys? Okay, yeah,
It's
okay.
boys to men.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's right, because that's not New Edition yet, Boys to Men. But Mama, because I'm in that quicksand, so I'm calling for Mama. That's the connection, guys. Where'd that come from? Because I'm in the quicksand, we're going down, as Mary would say. But again, you can't enable. And how can you say you love me as my friend and listen to me over and over again? And and you see I'm not getting anywhere and you see I'm unhappy. At some point, we have to agree to disagree about that. And we're not going to discuss that. Because for me, hearing you go on and on about that year after year, it hurts me. And also, it's an emotional drain. You become a vampire.
I can't
Yeah.
say it really hurts
Well,
me per se.
I know it don't hurt you. It be hurting me.
it don't really hurt me
It be hurt
because
my heart. It be hurt my heart.
it don't hurt me because after a while we gonna have to change this song. And I love music,
We're not.
all different genres.
We're not.
But we gonna have to change this song, honey, because we can't listen to Let It Snow 365, 52, 24/7. Okay, we
Let
gonna
it
have to
snow,
change it.
let it snow, let it snow.
I'm talking about the boys, the
Well,
men version.
oh, which one is
We
that version?
the
Oh, let it
voice,
snow.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah,
gonna
that
have to
is
change.
nice.
We have to change the station. Okay, we can't, because after a
So
while,
can I have all I want for Christmas?
no, because she can't even hit that. It's time. I can't even hit that right now because these vocals are
Now,
raspy. But
now you
when they
wrong
not
for that. Now
when
you
when these
wrong for that. You know I like
when
that.
these vocals are not
You
raspy, she
wrong
can
for
definitely
that.
hit that.
You
Okay, I
wrong
can hit that
for
key.
that.
I just can't hit it because it's raspy right now. But it's okay.
You wrong
You know,
for that.
I used to be a man in my former life. No, I'm just kidding. No, for real. I really am joking. I really am. Like all female. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
we're talking about that other life, though, not this life, because you may have been reincarnated. I have to give that some thought. I wonder who you could have been, who you could be in reincarnation.
I think I was a lot of people that I didn't even know.
Okay, okay, all these
Ooh,
different people.
I know. And they just, the ancestors came back and was like, here you go. We're going to give you this great bundle of joy that's going to make you laugh, make you feel good, as Halle Berry said. Going to make you
Well,
feel
not,
good.
I just thought about this. You know how ancestors? Because I know we talk about the ancestors all the time, but you have to be careful with them ancestors, because
Yes,
you
you
know what
do.
happened with them ancestors a little while back when the ancestors rose up. So we don't want the ancestors to rise up in you the way they rose up at that particular incident. But Andrea, I said earlier, we were talking about Leandra, and
Yes.
I love Leandra, and I love the song that she did, the Exodus with. I can't think of the man's name right now because it's his song. But I love Leandra, and one thing I love her, period, because I've seen her several times in person
Yeah.
perform. And I remember someone saying to me that she's very open about her struggle. And she's had a struggle recently, and I'm not up on it, guys, but I just saw something briefly. And I think I heard her say it is a daily struggle.
Hmm.
And I applaud her for saying that, because life is a daily struggle. And we just happen to see her struggle play out in the media. But
Right.
we all are struggling every day with something, every day.
Yes, ma'am.
And um and we all self-medicate in some way. And 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 as I said to you, some individuals may say, well, why can't a person just stop something?
Right.
Well, why can't a person just leave a relationship that's not working for them? It's the same
The
thing.
same thing.
There is something there that is keeping you tied to whatever space and time, and you're not able to shift. And that requires work. That requires, hi, Jesus Blackman, 23. Thank you for joining us. That requires work. Um, and Yes, I'm wearing that, my award, a decision. Yeah, I decided to wear it tonight. And as Kate said, a decision quickly. I don't know which one she's coming on, but yeah, it's not easy to just turn something off, and because whatever you're using to self-medicate, you didn't, most times you haven't just started using something
No.
at this point. So whether it's food or whatever, you just can't stop it like that, and also there's a physical as well as emotional component that's there, because you think about alcohol or drugs, you have, and even food for that matter, there's that withdrawal because you're accustomed to having something and you can't have that anymore. Think about people who are diabetics and they can't have the refined sugar and things of that nature. It's different. People who have high blood pressure, their sodium, salt intake has been supposed to be reduced, but they still want to, put salt on everything, a lot of salt on everything if they like a lot of salt. So again, it's so easy to think that we can just make a decision and that's it. It doesn't work that way. So going back to your original question, how long are these people going to hang out with these folks that they know are not benefiting them? Um, all in the name of love. My boy said we're going to step in the name of love. I told you I'm on a song thing tonight. But, how long are we going to hang there? And we might want to get the eye of with the eye of the tiger, but no, we might want to roar. Is that Katy Perry? We need to roar.
Yep.
And then, of course, Taylor Swift would tell me to shake it off. But even shaking something off, that's not easy because you're shaking. That don't mean it's just gonna fall off. Think about hair. You can shake your arm and try to get that hair to come off your
But it's
clothing.
still
It don't just
right
fall
there.
off. It's
No,
still there.
it's still
Still
there.
there. So again, we're always outsiders peering into someone else's relationship. What we can do is support individuals and, as best we can without enabling them. But at some point, it turns to enablement. And I just don't believe in enabling people because I just think that, you have to pay for that, if you're enabling someone. So, OnJerya, I'm going to give you the final words. We've been talking about relationships of all levels and why it's difficult to walk away, be it personal relationships, be it work relationships, be it relationships that we may have with something that we've used to self-medicate.
Right.
Why it's so hard to just stop that cold turkey, because that's basically what sometimes people think you can do is just walk away from it, but that's a hard thing to do. So you've got the final word.
I mean, it is like I said, I have my own toxic stories of staying too long, right? Um, so that's why I can say it's hard. Like, yeah, we laugh and we make, light of the situation, but no, seriously, it really is hard. Like, and depending on where you enter that relationship, meaning like age wise, if this is something that was established in like middle school, high school, college, early, adult years, like, it's hard. It's really, really hard to make that shift, but trust and believe you can make the shift. There will be things that will happen that will be the final straw that breaks the camel back, where you will make that decision of like, I can't do this anymore. When you reflect back, will you think of, man, I wasted so much time with this person? Yes and no. Because the thing is, you were growing, you were learning, and those are experiences that no one can ever take away from you. Because again, it helps you establish boundaries. And I think that's one of the things that we need to make sure that we implement is establishing boundaries, which is really hard for a lot of us, especially if you grew up not really having boundaries. With your family, friends, or whatever, it's hard to establish that with other
Mm-hmm.
people. But I think also if you work on yourself and you stay true to yourself and never allow yourself to get lost in the sauce, you'll be fine. You just have to figure out what works for you. Whatever type of meditation you need to do, whether it's running, whether it's, listening to like audiobooks or, you know, whatever it is that you need that's going to help you be able to reset, focus on the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, you only have one life to live. Okay? Like, I know we're talking about relationships, but I got to say this. So, so at work, but it goes along with the topic at hand. So at work, in our small huddles, we've been doing these little icebreakers, right? And the icebreaker today was the icebreaker. You know what I'm about to say, Teresa. So the icebreaker today was, talk about like your favorite place that you've traveled and why. And you know what I'm about to say. So I mentioned the time that we went to Rio de Janeiro and how
Oh,
we were on this independent trip, ran into these random people, which we are still close to this day. Like, I love those ladies, okay? I love them. And one of them actually lives here in North Carolina, which is small world, right? You go all over the world and find people that's from home. And they was like, let's go. We're doing this little boat. What was it, like a boat tour or boat sailing, whatever?
yeah,
Now, mind you, I had on Converses, okay? Because again, we were not going to do any water activities. This was very spur of a moment. I can't even swim, but yet me, YOLO, you only live once, right? Was out here in this big old ocean on this little boat, climbing up on this big boat with no sort of grip, no nothing, with the Converses on. But you know what now? Now that I reflect back, I'm like, girl, you should have been afraid, okay? But in that moment,
no, we're
but in
not
that
afraid.
moment, I wasn't. I wasn't, because I took like the courage that I had to do that. That now I'm here telling you about him, and probably will be like, I don't know if I'll do that again because that wasn't smart. But at the time, it didn't matter, right? Because I was doing something for self. I wasn't looking for validation and acceptance from anybody else. And I think that that's one of the things that we need to make sure that when we look at relationships with other people, why are we friends? Okay. Like, what are you bringing to the friendship? Like they say, what you bring to the table. What are you bringing to this friendship? What are you bringing to this relationship? What are you bringing to this job? Meaning that other individual, not you as the person, the other individual. What are they bringing? Because if they're not bringing anything, if they're not pouring anything into you, you need to cut it off. I don't care if they make you feel good. If the bad days are outweighing the good days, cut it off. Don't sit here and what they cut it. Cut it. You need to cut it. I can't even think of the artist right now.
Oh,
But
somebody
you need to cut it.
okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say nip it, but okay, cut it, cut it, cut it.
yeah, you need to cut it. You need to, I want to say Gucci. I don't think it's Gucci. I can hear the song, but you'll know what I'm talking about. The bottom line is you got to take care of you. You got to do what's best for you and your mental health. And sometimes you'll know when it's time to go. The signs will be there, and you've given all that you've got, and it's okay. If it doesn't work out, it's okay, because lesson learned. Because trust and believe, as they say, the package will deliver to the wrong address. It will be delivered to the right address, and everything that you did for that person that wasn't deserving of it, the person that God sends your way, or whoever it is that you believe in sends your way, will gratefully appreciate everything that you do for them and then some. And then that energy will reciprocate it back. So my takeaway is YOLO. You only live once. And because you only live once, you need to make the best of it. Be adventurous. And if it don't work out, it's okay. Dime a dozen. Fill in the blank. Dime a dozen. Whatever your pleasure is, dime a dozen, okay? Dime a dozen. There's people out here who is waiting for you, but you blocking that blessing, holding on to something that's not good for you.
Well, I just want to get this on the recording. I gave you the last one, but I want to get this on the recording. I can't read my handwriting, but you talked about um, what sometimes when you enter these relationships when you're in high school or whatever, that it makes it even harder because you've been in them for so long, and so it makes
Right.
it harder for you to walk away from them or to shift them. And Dr. Velma would probably say, well, it's not about the age that you were when you entered the relationship, it's the mentality that you take into the relationship. Because I could have entered a relationship at 60, but I still got a 16-year-old mindset.
Right.
So therefore, I'm still dating like I'm in high school. Um, and then you talked about boundaries and the fact that we didn't, perhaps we didn't grow up with boundaries. But I had a thought, and I want to get this just out there so that we don't forget this at some other point. I think that people did set boundaries when we were
Okay.
growing up, but the boundaries that they set were sometimes negative boundaries. So so they set the boundaries to protect them, but
Right.
they didn't set the boundaries to protect other people. And that's a whole nother conversation. It could
Absolutely.
be, where people experience trauma because the boundaries were set, but the boundaries were boundaries that benefited them, which means we didn't learn the lesson. When we set boundaries, the boundaries should benefit us. But of course, in 2024, we know that not only they're going to benefit us, they're going to benefit everybody that's
Right.
involved in with the boundary setting or who's going to be coming to your space. And then that validation, looking for that validation from the outside, um, can cause you not to can cause you to lose sight of who you really are, what your identity is. You've heard me say, a friend of mine said, let TAS be TAS. And as I said on a video a month or two back, Teresa is TAS. I am TAS. I'm TAS in the morning, I'm TAS at night, I'm TAS all the time because those are my initials. The thing is that sometimes people may not like TAS, but
Right.
I'm TAS all the time because there are different degrees of TAS. And people, as Bobby said, you get best side of me, you get worst side of me. Because you get degrees of TAS that other people don't get. But everybody gets TAS. And there's people that would say, yeah, I get her all the time. Yeah, because I can't change because
Right.
I am who I am. Now, let me say that differently. I can change, and I have changed a lot in my life. But the essence of who I am is not going to change. Because if I change who I am, then I'm not being true to me. I'm now letting external people dictate who Teresa is going to be. And that, they'll pick up stronger, is not going to be. It's not going to be because I wouldn't be able to sit here if I'd let other people tell me who I was to be. I didn't tell them who they were to be. I accept
Right.
people who they are, good, bad, or indifferent. And then I'm reminded of a song that I think I have my almost 45, ZZ Hill. It ain't no use. It ain't no use. And sometimes you have to understand when it is no use. You
Right.
cannot continue to hit your head against that brick wall thinking it's going to move. No, you're going to fall out on the floor, or excuse me, you're going to fall out on the ground because you're hitting your head against a brick wall. When there is no use, they're just saying no use. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's called maturity. We have to accept that we have crossed on dry land. He parted the Red Sea. And I got to say, that's so funny. Now, she done gone from ZZ Hill, but this is how my brain works, guys. She done gone from ZZ Hill. It ain't no use. The unified, all I love. You look it up. It's on YouTube. You can find it. It ain't no use. She done gone from ZZ Hill
Mhm.
to now. Sometimes when he parts the Red Sea and you walk across on dry land, that's it. And it's a choice that we have to make. Are we going to stay here and it ain't no use? Are we going to walk on across on that dry land? Because, Moses has parted the Red Sea. We don't know what the promised land is going to look like.
Well,
But we know that there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You know what this was. You said you didn't like it no more. He done parted the Red Sea. Are you going to walk across, or are you going to run back after you done walked across and try to get back over to Egypt? That's what life is all about, that contradiction.
mhm.
One moment, it ain't no use. The next moment, I'm walking across. I hear the song. I'm walking somewhere. I'm walking the sunshine. Whatever that is. Doesn't it feel good? I think is what the lyric says. So again, it's life. We all experience it. Don't let other people make you feel bad because you're experiencing it. We all experience it. But the thing is, you got to get a handle on it because, as OnJerya said, we got one life to live, and this life is so fleeting now. It's so fleeting. We don't know how long we have to live it. And so you want to live every day to the fullest and be as happy as you possibly can, given the fact that you're never going to have everything that you desire to have in life, but you'll get some of the things that you need. You'll get all the things that you need and a few of the things that you desire. So, OnJerya, thank you for another interesting dialogue. I just never know which way you go, but it's been very intriguing going down this little path with you. And of course, until next time, we got to make sure we do what? Or what?
Take care of you. Before you take
Girl,
care of somebody else,
please.
please make sure, please, that you make sure you take care of you.
Now she talking about me, but I know how it is. She can do it though. Yeah, she talking about me. God knows I'm gonna try to take care of myself before I try to take care of y'all, because I'm just so hard headed. But yeah, but seriously though, she is talking about me. She tells you before you take care of someone else, make sure you take care of yourself first, and that means living your life on your terms.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.